Rise of Mandhathu, Lanka's Forgotten Genius. Chapter 6, The Awakening of the Lost Machine. Mandhathu's hands trembled slightly as he tightened the final bolt on the massive war machine. For months he had toiled in the deepest forges of Lanka, working tirelessly to bring this creation to life. The room around him buzzed with the hum of mechanical parts, the rhythmic clink of metal against metal, and the soft hiss of steam as it was released from pressure valves. The war machine towered over him, a monumental figure of ancient design, its sleek metallic body reflecting the flickering firelight from the forge. Its surface was adorned with intricate, glowing engravings, runes that Mandhathu could not fully understand, yet they seemed to pulse with a strange energy, as though they were alive. The machine had wheels, not of traditional design, but ones that seemed to defy the need for beasts to pull it. Its weapons, long and sharp, were powered by forces beyond anything Mandhathu had encountered in his studies. After months of solitary work, he stood back, admiring his creation. The machine, once an idea, an echo of forgotten knowledge, had become a terrifying reality. It was no longer just a weapon, it was something more, something that resonated with the ancient powers of Lanka. With a deep breath, Mandhathu wiped the sweat from his brow and nodded to himself. "It is done," he muttered under his breath, his voice a mixture of exhaustion and awe. He stood before his masterpiece, uncertain of its true potential and what it would mean for the kingdom. The throne room of King Ravana was filled with anticipation. Mandhathu had spent days preparing for this moment, gathering the war council, explaining his invention, and preparing the machine for display. But now, as he stood before the council, a wave of nervousness washed over him. Even with all his knowledge and training, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was on the brink of something far greater than he had intended. The advisors stood in a semicircle, their faces a mixture of skepticism and curiosity. Ravana, seated upon his magnificent throne, his many heads resting upon golden pillars, studied Mandhathu intently. The machine, shrouded in darkness, loomed behind him like a beast waiting to be unleashed. "This," Mandhathu began, his voice steady, "is the culmination of all my work, a weapon that will change the course of our battles, a force of war like no other." The council murmured among themselves, their expressions unreadable. One advisor, unable to hold back his curiosity, stepped forward. This is beyond anything we've ever imagined," he whispered, his eyes wide with both fear and admiration. Ravana, ever the measured and wise ruler, stood and walked toward the machine, his many eyes scanning its form. He touched the machine's cold metal surface, tracing the intricate engravings with his fingers. "And it moves?" he asked, his voice carrying authority. Mandhathu nodded, though his heart raced with uncertainty. "It does, my king." The king's lips curled into a pleased smile, but there was an underlying caution in his eyes. "Then let us see it in action." Outside the palace, in the expansive training grounds, the air was thick with anticipation. Mandhathu stood at the control panel, his hands steady as he prepared to bring the machine to life. The council had gathered in a large circle around the arena, watching intently as the towering machine stood motionless in the center. A hush fell over the crowd as Mandhathu turned the key that would awaken the beast. The engravings along the machine's body began to pulse with a golden glow, faint at first, then growing stronger. The wheels, designed to move without the aid of beasts, began to tremble, and then, with a deep, mechanical hum, the machine stirred to life. The warriors, who had been standing nervously on the sidelines, stepped back, their eyes wide with awe. The ground beneath them trembled as the machine began to roll forward, its massive wheels turning with eerie precision. The weapons on its arms shifted, testing their flexibility, each movement an intricate dance of deadly potential. But just as Mandhathu was about to breathe a sigh of relief, something unexpected occurred. The glow from the machine intensified, flooding the courtyard with a blinding light. Strange symbols, ones Mandhathu had never seen before, appeared along the surface of the metal, shifting and changing in a language that seemed to be older than anything he had encountered. Suddenly, a deep, resonant voice echoed from within the machine. The sound vibrated through the air, unsettling every warrior present. "I awaken," the voice boomed, sending a shockwave through the courtyard. Mandhathu's breath caught in his throat as he staggered backward, confusion and fear taking root. The machine he had built, with all its advanced mechanisms and power, had become something more, something not of his making. The ground beneath them rumbled violently as energy surged from the machine's core. Mandhathu's legs nearly gave out beneath him as a powerful gust of wind erupted from the machine, knocking several of the warriors off their feet. The air grew thick with an almost electric charge, crackling and vibrating as if the machine itself had become a conduit for forces beyond understanding. King Ravana's sharp eyes narrowed. "What is the meaning of this, Mandhathu?" he demanded, his voice calm but full of authority. Mandhathu, still trying to catch his breath, could only shake his head. I do not know, my king. I built this machine to serve as a weapon, but I never intended for it to awaken with such power." The glowing symbols along the machine's body flickered once more, and then, with a deep mechanical groan, the energy that had once surged outward began to settle. The symbols faded, leaving only the golden glow that now pulsed steadily from within the machine's core. Mandhathu stepped forward cautiously, his mind racing. He had thought he understood the ancient knowledge he had unearthed. But this was something else entirely, something he had not foreseen. The voice spoke again, softer this time, though still filled with ancient power. "You seek to wield me as a tool of war," the machine intoned. "But I am no mere weapon. I am a remnant of the gods." Manu's eyes widened as the full weight of its words hit him. This machine was not just a war machine. It was a relic of a time when the gods themselves had shaped the world, a creation far older and far more powerful than any human could comprehend. Ravana watched silently, his expression unreadable, but Mandhathu could see the flicker of understanding in his eyes. Ravana was no fool. He knew this machine held secrets that had been buried for millennia. The king spoke, his voice low, yet commanding. "Mandhathu, you have unearthed something beyond your understanding. The true power of this machine lies not in its ability to fight, but in its connection to the divine." Mandhathu swallowed, his mind racing. This was not just a machine. It was a link to something far greater, something that could change the fate of the entire world. But as the machine's voice faded into silence, Mandhathu couldn't help but feel a deep unease. What had he truly awakened, and what would it mean for Lanka?